What's up? Welcome to the Get Hoptimized podcast. I am Chris, your host, and today I want to invite you on a trip with me here. Let's take a trip down to Arizona, a virtual trip, really. We're not actually driving there during the podcast here, but a virtual trip down to Arizona where you're going to find stuff like the Grand Canyon, squirrel cacti everywhere, pretty much, and some pretty darn amazing beer. Here to guide us on our trip is the executive director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild, Andrew Bauman. Andrew, what is up,
Hey,
dude?
Chris. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm pretty excited.
Oh man, I'm stoked to talk to you. I know you're a busy guy, so super grateful for your time. And this is going to be fun, man. I can't wait to learn more about Arizona.
Yeah, we just had our biggest festival, Arizona Strong Beer Fest, and I thought, oh, cool. Now I'm going to get to have a minute. Oh no, I forgot it's still Beer Week here in Arizona, so we're doing events every day and helping support our breweries and doing those. So I have that, and then next week I'm off to DC for the hill climb. So yeah,
You're a busy dude.
roll, roll, roll.
Dang, man. Well, I'm especially grateful for you to carve out some time for us with all that stuff going on. So
Sure.
we got a special thing going on here. Andrew's giving us some time. How'd the fest go?
We had a great time. We This year we decided to really focus on Arizona with the Arizona Strong Beer Fest being on February 14th. That is Valentine's Day, but it's also Arizona's birthday. So we
Oh,
leaned into
wow.
Arizona. We actually reduced the number of breweries that we allowed to sign up. Last year we had 170. We took it down to 120 this year.
Mhm.
And 60 of those were from Arizona. So it's pretty exciting to have everyone in the same place. It's really, our breweries love doing this event because they get to see all their friends from across the state that they haven't seen in a while. And this particular event tends to bring out a lot of the brewers, as opposed to just the salespeople who go to a lot of events. The brewers like to come out to this one and really show off some of their favorite stuff and try their friends' things they're proud of. So it is
That's
a really
awesome.
amazing festival. It's a great thing for our industry, in addition to helping introduce our beers to potentially new consumers. And hey, even if you can't get all of these Arizona beers on the store shelves, you've been introduced to them, you've talked to them, you've probably got a sticker, and now you can remember to go there. So I
Yeah.
find that these festivals are super beneficial to our members.
That's fantastic. I love a good fest, and it's always awesome to connect with the brewers out there. And like you said, you get to try a whole bunch of great beer and be like, "Oh man, I didn't know there's a brewer over there." And now maybe next time we're passing through, or let's plan a trip out to that zone, and yeah, you bring people together around beer. It's always a good time. So that's great. I'm glad you guys had a good fest.
Yeah, it's also one of the few fests that actually support the breweries. So there's beer fests all over the state. I would say if I said there were 25 beer festivals a year in this state, I would probably be undercounting.
Oh wow.
So those will often and by title are required to help a charity. Sometimes those are beer focused charities. I know that Copper State Beer Fest works with the Beer Babes family. And we have other ones that help absolutely worthwhile causes. But this and our festivals, along with guild supported festivals across the country, are really important to keep guilds going. So if you are listening to this and a beer festival is coming up, check your guild and see if it's one of their events. If it is, call some extra friends to be there.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good call out. I don't think people realize how important some of these things are for fundraising, for attention, for the guild, and fundraising for the guild and for some of these other organizations as well, which is another reason why we love beer. Beer does this for us, and that's fantastic. Before we go too far down the Arizona route, I'm excited to uncover a lot of that stuff. I want to learn about you, Andrew. How did you get into the industry? How long you've been with the guild? How'd you get into the guild? Let's get the rundown on you.
Sure, sure. Well, I graduated with a degree in restaurant hotel management from Texas Tech University. I was in restaurants for about 20 years and catering for a little while. And I got into homebrewing. I brewed 180 batches in 2.5 years. I always brought beer around and handed it out to people, said, here's my homebrew, try it, tell me what you think. I had QR codes on my bottle caps, in like 2010.
Early adopter on the QR
I
code.
was, yeah, I just wanted to get feedback, right? And people heard that I made good beer, so I was invited to become the head brewer at a new brewery opening in Chandler called the Perch, 3-barrel electric. That size of brewery makes things really accessible to someone new because you can see the things really well. It's a lot more manual than larger breweries are going to be, and it's a good place to get your feet wet, I would say. Also, it's a lot like a kitchen, and after working in kitchens for 20 years, setting up a brewery is very similar and a little bit different, but the same
Yeah.
concepts apply.
It's
Then I
heat,
moved on to
steel.
a
Yeah.
larger brewery, Uncle Bear's. We had a 10-barrel pub brewery, and then we opened a 30-barrel production brewery in 2018. So then in 2020, November 2021, I wanted to find something else to do and left that job. A month later, the opportunity with the guild came up, and I had been a board member for 4 years. I pretty much had visited every brewery in the state anyways. So I knew everybody, and it was a really easy fit to get into the deputy director position. And then 2.5 years later, the executive director decided to retire, and I took over the executive director position. So I've been doing that for about a year and a half, and here we are.
Wow. All right. You've just been a craft beer guy. I can picture you with your home brew and bringing around and then you've got this journey into brewing and now you're helping run the show for the guild. So that's fantastic. Do you still do home brewing stuff now? You still have time to do that or not so much?
I do. Uh, I got one of the Pinter systems. Like, it's an all-in-one service and brewing thing. Generally, they want you to sign up for their kit subscription. I didn't really think that was necessary for me, but I do like an all-in-one brew system.
Nice.
Pretty happy with the first couple batches. The last couple, not as happy. I've also been doing some cider lately, which is cool. Like, you can get single variety apple juices in a grocery store.
Mhm.
So, like, I really enjoy doing that too. So, yeah, and it's 1.5 gallons. So you go through it, you pop the thing in your fridge, you drink it off tap. When it's gone, you do another one.
Yeah, I
Yes, I
didn't know
have
you
four
could
of
do
them.
like you can kind of make your own custom recipes in that if you know what you're doing. It sounds like I didn't realize that was a thing because that's my issue with my homebrew now is it's like, man, it's a time thing, but also, then I got like 5 gallons of beer, at my house that I'm like, well, I'd like to have more variety, maybe change things up. And yeah, I don't go through it as fast as I did when I was a little bit younger. So
Yeah,
that's part of it. But you've given me
that's
some
one of the
inspiration.
reasons that I always had beer in my car to give away. Is I was like, what else am I going to do with all this beer? I'm doing 3 5-gallon brews on a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I have so much beer. So giving it away is perfect. And it's also why I always bottled. Like, my wife got me 5 horny kegs for Christmas one year, and I think I used them once. And then I just went back to bottling because I was like, no, how am I supposed to
Hard to
give it
give
away
away.
if it's all stuck in a keg?
Yep, yep. And it's hard to do the growlers and that kind of stuff out of it, out of the
Yeah.
homebrew thing. So you're a bottling guy. Yeah, dude, I remember bottling the homebrew. It's like, man, you got to do all these bottles. It wasn't for me. I moved to kegs pretty fast. But it does take away from the ability to share it. And that's part of what beer is as well, is
Right.
the sharing it kind of aspect of it. But so executive director for like the last year and a half, but with the guild for quite longer, right? I got that right? Timeline?
That's right. I've been with the guild for 4 years and been flying solo here for a year and a half. Now, flying solo is not actually accurate. We do have a board of director with 10 board members on it who are from our breweries, 3 of them from Tucson, the rest of them from Phoenix, and 1 from Camp Verde, a little bit north of Phoenix. And the board that I have right now is more involved in day-to-day helping with what we do than I've ever seen. So I'm super thankful for them. I certainly could never do this by myself, and
Yeah.
they're really helpful. We also have an attorney that is on, I guess you'd say, on retainer, whatever. She represents the guild. She is a resource for our members. So part of their membership is that they can call her and ask her questions about alcohol law. And she's not going to like file licenses for them for free or get too in the weeds, but she will make a call to the department if there's questions that she doesn't know or that they're struggling with something. But she used to be the state's attorney for the Department of Liquor. So she has a pretty deep depth of knowledge about what we can do, what we can't do, and how to navigate those choppy waters between.
Yeah. It's always a little different state to state and what, the focus is when it comes to legislation or, marketing and growth and those kind of things. What's it like in Arizona? Give us a lay of the land of, like how are breweries broken up throughout the state? Is there like a conglomeration in certain zones? I imagine some of our listeners aren't super familiar with the geography of Arizona and that kind of stuff, but maybe that's part of this lesson here is what things look like and how the beer scene and the guild is kind of made up in Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona is an amazing state. It is beautiful. I was just driving the other day and talking to my friend who is in town, and I said, I get the chance to go all over the state. I get to go and see breweries that are in Bisbee and in Yuma and in Colorado City on the Utah border. I mean, I get to go everywhere. And everywhere I go, I can just be amazed at what's around me. It's incredible. But as far as the geography goes, I did go to junior high and high school here in Arizona, and we have all the environmental regions represented in America, all in this one state. We go from sub-desert all the way up to alpine. Flagstaff is one of the top snowiest cities in the country, and it's in Arizona, and people just don't realize it.
Yeah.
We do have most of our population concentrated in Phoenix, and most of the breweries are located in Phoenix. But Tucson definitely punches above its per capita weight for breweries. They have 24 breweries. They have 3 in the top 5 for production. Tucson embraces their local scene like crazy. And Flagstaff has 8 brewery locations. One of them's not open to the public. It's just a production facility. But you go up to Flagstaff, and right now they are doing beer weeks so well. They are really just the city and the Chamber of Commerce are really promoting all the events in addition to what the breweries are doing. So it's really cool how they do that. In Lake Havasu, we've got 2 breweries, and they're also quite large on the production side, but really tune in with their local community as well. Yeah, it's incredible. I got to go down to a brewery in Welton, which is 30 miles east of Yuma, and it's a date farm in addition to being a brewery. They do
Oh,
half a
I've heard of
million
something like
pounds of
this. Yeah,
dates.
and they use the dates and stuff for brewing, right? It's like part
Use
of
the
their.
dates in a bunch of their beers. Yeah. And they came up to Arizona Strong to be part of the community. Like, if you're High Tanks Brewing and you're in Welton and you come up all the way to Phoenix to your goal isn't just to bring people back to your brewery. Your goal is to really get to know other breweries in the community, because you are a little bit isolated, but you
Mhm.
want to get to know some people. So that's one of the things that I really help. I hope I'm helpful with to our members, is connecting them when people have challenges. Other people that, having been in the business for 15 years, I know people that have gone through those things or are experts in particular things that, who, if I was brewing, I would reach out to them. So I can refer those people who have some issues to reach out as well.
Yeah, you kind of bring up a good point of, challenges and, again, every state's a little bit different. You've got breweries kind of spread out. You have this isolated kind of remote, more of like a tourism kind of situation. And you got densely populated areas like Phoenix, that have different set of challenges that they want to overcome and a different way to approach selling beer and having a tap room and those kind of things. How do you balance that as the guild, and how are you how do you approach being a resource to everybody that fits these different kind of perspectives and positions?
Yeah, that is something that I personally take to heart a lot. Um, we move our quarterly meetings across the state. So we do 2 in Phoenix, 1 in Tucson, 1 in Flagstaff. And 2 years ago, I did a tour. So we didn't do a quarterly meeting in fall. I just went around and did like regional meetings from Bisbee and Havasu and Kingman and just all over, trying to get 5 or 6 breweries together to chat. And then also I would have one or two of my board members come to each of those meetings to represent the guild in a different way from me, because board members and what they do every day is different from what I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to be able to make those connections, even if they're not in the same area.
It's got to be hard, when folks are spread out, everyone's busy, it's time, schedules are hard. And even driving, it's like, well, I got to drive an hour to get that because it's in my region or my zone. It makes it challenging. So you've taken it a step further and said, well, I'm going to come to you and we're going to do little micro meetings. Did that work out well? Do you think that was beneficial and helpful to get more participation with that approach?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Every area is not the same. Some places turn out more and other ones turn out less. Also, we like to say I have 100 breweries and 100 different bosses with 100 different business models. So I was over this week at 8-Bit Brewing in Avondale, where they have a husband and wife. That the husband does all the brewing. The wife has a day job and then comes and helps in the tap room. And they have one other full-time employee, or not even full-time, one other employee who helps in the tap room so they can have a day off.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then 5 miles away is Saddle Mountain Brewing, that's got this giant facility. And the brewers weren't there because they were in Scottsdale doing the collab. They have a team of 6 in the brewery. They've got a team in the tap room, even high tanks. They have 35 people between their restaurant and their brewing operation. And that doesn't even include the date farm. So there's a lot of pressure on these owners to be there for their staff. And sometimes they don't have time to come to a meeting. And I totally
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, that makes it really tough. You got, oh, someone called out today. I guess I'm the person who's got to be here, and you don't have a choice for that.
Right.
The joys of running a small business and especially a brewery. What do you think, considering this diversity of business type, do you see things that are working well for breweries in Arizona that have kind of stuck and been like, yeah, this is, work. And I imagine it's different, right? For somebody who's up in Flagstaff versus in Phoenix. Or are you seeing trends in what's helping grow Arizona breweries right now?
Well, for one thing, we are very lucky with our legislative and policy atmosphere. Our microbrewery license holders can have up to 7 licenses. In many states, if you are producing an alcohol product, you cannot have a retail license.
Mm,
Sometimes they allow like one on premise with that brewery. Ours, we are allowed to have 7 different licenses. So our breweries are currently doing more diversification with their own network rather than really leaning into distribution. I think that's one thing that's really helped our breweries kind of navigate these challenging times we're in right now, because they are getting to talk to their customers every day. We don't have any breweries that ship out of state except with a couple small exceptions. So it's not like we have these giant Sierra Nevada sized breweries that are seeing overall beer trends hurting their volume. Our breweries are far more concentrated on getting to know the people in their neighborhood. So that's been great. And right now I've got, let's see, I wrote down the breweries that are currently expanding.
okay.
So already this year, I've had 1702 in Tucson. This is like a taproom pizza place in Tucson that closed I think it closed right during COVID. And they had a small brewery. Well, that brewery's been purchased by someone else and is kicking back up. So that's cool for Tucson. We've got White Mountain Brewing in Concho Pine Top. We've got that open this year. We've got Hopsology in Phoenix. After this, I'm going to visit with them. That's a 50-minute drive from where I am right now. And that's in Phoenix.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's huge around here.
Phoenix
Everything's
is
far.
big in general, but and you got traffic and all that kind of stuff. It
Right.
makes it tricky. Yeah.
We've got Heavy Metal Brewing in Bullhead City. They moved down from Washington and moved to Bullhead City and reopened their brewery down in Arizona. So that's a new thing. We've got the shop, which is one of our biggest producers. They just opened a new production facility. Mile High Brewing in Prescott has been working very hard. Smaller towns can sometimes be more of a challenge to get open in than larger cities
Hmm.
because there's a lot more personal politics, but they're just about ready to open their doors. We have Retrograde Brewing in Safford and Beeline Brewing in Tempe. That's all within the last 6 months of new openings. We had Oro Brewing Company close early this year, but they were purchased and are now going to open as Mesa Brewing Company with different owners.
Okay.
Greenwood Brewing in Phoenix is opening a location in Chandler and a location in the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. Phantom Fox in Mesa is opening a new location in Tempe on Mill Avenue and also a new location in Gilbert. And Oso Brewing Company, which is already one of the breweries that has the largest footprint, is opening another location in Peoria and Mesa.
Wow.
So you may say, wow, Arizona's really going in, and how, when everyone else is closing breweries, are you opening all these breweries? Well, we have had some breweries close, and everyone that does is heartbreaking because those are our friends. Those are people that we know the soul of their business and of them, and we hate to see that go away. Sometimes it's just time, and sometimes it's economics, and sometimes it's landlords, but it's not looking terrible. I
Well,
don't see any
just
breweries that are shouting like, this is amazing today.
you rattling off the list, that's you kind of answered it or brought it up. I was like, wow, that's actually really positive to hear that there's so much opening when you hear about other markets where it's not the same situation. And uh I wonder if there's something to do with what you alluded to earlier about, the local vibe and like focusing on tap room and making that a cornerstone of the business model opposed to massive growth, massive scale, massive distribution, where that has actually become a problem in today's market, where Arizona's kind of avoided that because of the way things are set up now in the market with the opposite focus. Because now everyone's like, well, not everyone. I can't say everyone. It's too broad of a stroke, but the talk is that we should focus on the tap room. Margins are better there. That should be the future of the business model. Additional locations is part of the strategy. Seems like Arizona's been on that. Is kind of what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, Arizona's beer market really matured a little more slowly than other states. Although we have really good laws to allow it to happen, it just didn't happen as fast here. And I think that turned out to be one of the blessings of the entire industry here in Arizona, is that people really did embrace that really close to home type of brewery rather than getting into that big distribution model, which, to be honest, wasn't even a thing once we started really ramping up in the number of breweries opening. It was already past the point where another Sierra Nevada or Firestone or New Belgium was going to open. So maybe that was the only thing they could do. Although Headright Brewing here in Arizona is planning on opening a new brewery that's mainly contract brewing. We've seen a lot of breweries move into that model as well.
Yeah. Contract brewing is a whole other game. And you're saying that's happening there too. There's a few here in Nevada, like it's Nomad Brewing. They do different things and they brew at different spots to push beer out. But you're saying that's a thing there too, is that folks are making this contract thing work. Do you see that the contractors eventually they want to open up their own location, or is it kind of they're staying in the contract land?
I have a contract brewer here in town who opened his own tap room. So he's
Nice.
got his own tap room. He's serving his own beers and other beers. Because he's not a microbrewery, our license includes the right to open a tap room with your brewery. He just had to go with like a regular beer wine license. And so he has more options of what he can serve. So he can do cider, he can do wine, he can do beer. And his beer technically is treated just like any other beer that he could buy. So obviously he's going to highlight what he's making because it's very exciting.
Yeah.
and then also have other options. Because if you're a contract brewer, you can't have 20 handles, right? You can't hit every style. And if you were to try and do that, I think that would be a bad idea. So being able to focus on particularly his or hazy IPAs, he focuses on that, maybe as a West Coast, but then all the other beer styles he can pick up from someone else.
Right. You kind of allude to something there too, which is another one of these kind of national trends is the demand for a diversity of product offering. People want to taste different things. They want wine on the menu, they want seltzers, they want sours, they want beer, they want cocktails and mocktails and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And brewers are having to figure this out and be able to offer those things. What's the take from your perspective and maybe speaking on behalf of the Arizona brewers? How are they reacting to that and then overcoming that challenge to be able to fulfill and have these different offerings at their tap rooms?
Yeah, our breweries have been really, let's see, during dry January, I think Arizona Wilderness Brewing, they have 3 locations now. They had an entire mocktail menu that they put out right alongside their beer menu, hitting that dry January, which I like to call try January, try new beers.
I like it.
Um, yeah. Uh, Seltzers have been something that have been, I don't know about a lifeline to our breweries to help um, create an environment where non-beer drinkers can also have a good time. But we see a lot more of our breweries trying to get into the non-alcoholic space. And we cannot, all of our licenses can stack another license on top. So if you have a microbrewery license, you can stack a restaurant license if you have enough food sales, which would be 40% of your overall sales has to be food. You can stack that restaurant license on top of your brewery license, and that opens up wine and spirits to you.
Mm.
You can buy a number 7 license if you're not doing food, and you can then add outside beer and wine to your brewery. In fact, our microbrewery license allows us to bring in up to 20% of other microbrew beer. And those can be either Arizona microbrewery license beers or out of state licenses that have an Arizona distribution license as a microbrewery, not just as we're sending beer in, but a microbrewery. So I was looking today and there's a list of about 75 out of state breweries that have that number 2 M microbrewery license. So our members and our breweries can also buy those beers. So there's a wide variety of things that you can bring in. What we can't bring in that really gets everyone worked up is cider, because cider is such like craft beer and they're our friends. And we have cider makers that are in our organization as allied beverage producers, and they support us at our events too. So we really want to be able to bring that. That is a big legislative pull because we have so many rights already that our other industry members aren't super excited to give us more. They feel like we already have so many things to help balance the scale in our favor. We'll see how that goes, but that's one thing that we're going to be working on in the future is getting our number 3 microbrewery licenses to be able to serve Arizona wine and spirits, and retroactively their tap rooms to be able to do the same thing. We'll see how it goes. It's
Yeah,
pretty
man, the
complicated.
ciders would be sick. It's like the perfect thing for the desert landscape. It's refreshing, it's sweet, and it always is tricky because it's classified a little different. And,
Yeah.
oh man, we have to jump through these hoops. But you do make a good segue into like another big thing I wanted to ask you about is like the guild and where the guild fits into these things. And it sounds like in this is, I guess, my first question on this topic is these legislative benefits that are there for the breweries to bring in these different offerings and so on and so forth. Was the guild part of that in helping making that happen so that it's favorable so far, or how did that come to happen?
Yeah. And it was about 10 years ago when we ran a very comprehensive reform to the #3 microbrewery license. What do they call?
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, there's a word I just can't get right now. The rights and privileges that microbreweries have. So our distributor partners generally supported it. As far as beer distributors, wine and spirits distributors did argue against it. We had many of the industry trade groups that were on our side to help move that legislation forward, and we did. And a lot of the rights we have now come from that bill that went through 10 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. We can do growlers. We can sell kegs direct to the public. We can deliver kegs to the public. We can deliver kegs to retailers. Even when we sign a distribution agreement, we can still have some self-distribution rights. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, you may have a different contract with your distributor that doesn't allow you to do that, but as far as the title, you are allowed to continue self-distributing and there are levels. So you can do up to 3,000 barrels if you're not signed, and you can only do 1,500 barrels if you are signed. But self-distributing 1,500 barrels is like crazy considering how big this state is, right?
Yeah.
Because driving, picking up, it is always very far. Doing 1,500 barrels in self-distribution.
Well, it makes you have options, and it allows you to say yes to more things, as opposed to being like, well, now I got to work through my distributor to make that even happen. Right. If you're not in that distribution network, then sorry, I can't help you, but I want to sell the beer there, and so on and so forth. It allows you to spin off those maybe micro yeses in some cases and grow the brand that way, which is incredibly helpful. I'm sure there's people listening like, man, I wish my state did that.
Yeah.
Nice for
me. So that 20% of outside beer that our breweries are able to serve, there are two reasons that was really important. First of all, there were a lot of breweries just getting ramped up and getting ready to open. And sometimes you can get your certificate of occupancy on your building before you're ready with beer. Well, if you have a #3 license and that's what you're serving under, you can get Arizona beer, get some money coming in, and roll out your beer as you are able to produce it. Secondly, it allows you to go to another brewery, do a collaboration brew there, and serve it at your tap room. So in a lot of places, you can only serve what you make on premise. And with the ability to go to a different brewery, do collaborations, it really opens the ability to do that in a way that is special for our state.
Nice. It seems very favorable, and you're working hard to make more happen. What is on the horizon for upcoming changes? What are you working on right now to try to continue to help your brewers there?
Yeah, our legislative this year, we are favorable to a bill that is doing equalization of cider. So right now, federally, 8.5% is the max, and in Arizona, it's 7%. It's all about the taxes and all that stuff, but we're getting that pushed to 8.5 here in Arizona so that it lines up with what the federal requirements are. We also have a bill that is working through our legislature right now to reduce taxes on RTD spirits. We have not taken a position on that because many of our members also do spirits. 3 years ago, we introduced a bill that allows alternating proprietorship. So you can have spirits, beer, and wine all being produced at the same address. In the past, we could only have one of those producer license per address. And now we can have all three. It's kind of complicated on the accounting side, but that can be done. So we have members that are making RTD cocktails, and we are here to defend the beer industry, but we're also here to serve our members. And if our other members say, hey, look, we don't really care about this, and we have members that say, yeah, we want this to happen, it's probably safest for us to just say, okay, we're just going to let someone else is fighting it. Like the beer distributors are fighting it right now. So we don't really have to jump in if something were to happen and we need to go get our members activated and going to committee hearings and having conversations with their legislators, our members are very good at that. They're very tuned into what's going on in their local community and knowing the people that make those happen.
Well, it's an interesting new problem
Mhm.
or a new challenge that comes
Right.
up because we have this pressure to diversify the offering.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, one of those things is RTDs. It's
Mm-hmm.
an offering there. Canned stuff, spirit stuff, any kind of like mocktail, cocktail kind of, not mocktail, but cocktail stuff. And yeah, I think the one of the logical ways to go with it as somebody who already makes a product is like, well, could we make this other thing? And why not diversify our offering with another thing that we make? I was just having a podcast with another brewery in California, and that's what they decided to do. It was actually easier for them to make spirits than to get a spirits license. It was way more
Yeah.
affordable to do it that way. And they're like, well, let's just make it. And fortunately, the the laws that were in place allowed them to do that. But I could see why breweries would be down for that. It's like, well, we could make it now. We could diversify our offering. Now we're making it work, and we got a cool new product that we're making. And by the way, we're dealing with malts and all the same stuff that would go into that stuff. Why not make it happen? And again, I see the benefit of doing so. Interesting to see how that'll pan out for you guys. It seems cool. Hopefully,
Yeah. And then there's always hemp that's hanging over everyone's head, right?
yeah, that's the other big one, right? Is the THC stuff. Is that something that's popular down in Arizona right now? Are more breweries jumping onto it, or is it a regulatory thing, or what's the status on that?
In Arizona, we've had recreational marijuana since 2022. And the dispensaries and the growers here in Arizona have done a great job of working together in a quasi trade organization that has been successful in convincing our legislators that they should be the only place these things happen. Unfortunately, we did have a pretty good hemp THC market going here. Total Wine had 4 doors of hemp THC products in
Whoa.
the 12 locations in Arizona. Our attorney general came out and said, if you are selling intoxicating THC beverages, I don't care where it's coming from. If it's an intoxicating THC beverage, it needs to be sold only at dispensaries. And we will issue $25,000 fines for each package we find in your place.
Dang.
So at that point, the sometimes our corporate masters really do help us move forward. But in this case, they found the downside to those fines to be higher than the upside of fighting the attorney general. So we have to wait to see what happens federally. We know that it's in some quicksand right now federally too, but we see that the culture of hemp THC beverages is very similar to craft beer. Our members would like the opportunity to be able to make those and serve those at their tap rooms as well. So we're just waiting. We've worked with some legislation over a couple years. Last year, the Hemp Beverage Association did not move a bill. There's word that they're trying to get something going this year, but personally, I think it's too late. Like most of our bills have already been introduced and it's going to be late, but hopefully we can get something worked out on the federal and on the state side that allow our members to be able to introduce a new product as well.
Yeah, I see. I kind of see the pressures from both sides of it. I think the dispensary end of it, their whole thing is we sell this kind of product and we want to have control over that market and bring people into our locations to do that. But this THC beverage thing is kind of this hybrid product. And then, so it's like both people kind of want it to be there. But, who's going to win in the pull on that? The other end of it is kind of the drinking on site portion of it. And in Nevada, that's relatively recent, being able to consume these products, smoke them, drink them, whatever on site is, like I said, relatively new and growing. Is that a factor at all? Is there anywhere you can consume this stuff on site, or is it all take home kind of situation?
Nope, it's all take
Take
home
home.
in Arizona. And I think that part of a bigger picture of mental health stresses that everyone knows that are happening in America today is a lot of it is loneliness and a feeling of isolation. So if someone's preferred intoxicant is THC. The only place they can do it is at home and essentially by themselves. Yeah, you can invite a couple friends over, but it's not the same as being out in an environment. And I think that alcohol and THC have a very similar effect on people and effect on culture. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes we have made is to not put any kind of guardrails on that hemp THC beverage, and it can be sold to anyone and it can be sold anywhere. I don't think that's the way we should handle it, but I think that it does have a place in our culture and in helping to break down walls between people and really bring them together.
I have not heard anybody talk about it like that before, and I love that. On culture and art and community, and I didn't even think about
Mm-hmm.
it that way. Of like, yeah, beer brings. We started the conversation like that. The beer brings people together, and there's an opportunity for the THC products, THC beverages to do that too. But it's also this catch up game with legislative and regulatory that hopefully makes it to a point. Because I think we both would agree on that, is that yeah, there's a spot for it, and let's make the community bigger and more diversified. And sure, let's do it. Let's reap the benefits for everybody, but we got to
Mm-hmm.
do it smart. And so on and so forth, man. I'm glad we got on the THC thing. I wasn't expecting to go there, but that is a cool thing, man. And thank you for your thoughts on that.
Sure, sure.
Of course. Well,
As far as other legislative items, right now I'm getting ready to go to DC for the
yeah.
hill climb, and we're working on what's called Beer to Barns. So that is a federal excise tax credit for donating your grain to a farmer who's using it to feed their cows, pigs, sheep, whoever. So that would be really cool if we can get that through. Then there's the USPS Shipping Equality Act, which has been like literally 4 years that I've been going to the Hill. It just is not moving, but we're still talking about it. If it wouldn't benefit our members all that much, except that currently it is legal for us to ship our beer to consumers, but FedEx and UPS won't do it. They say it's not clear. And it is completely clear. So they're just like, nah, we don't want to get into that. Meanwhile, they ship guns and they ship prescription medications all over the place and have people sign for them and have over 21, that has to be there. But I don't
Baffling to
know.
me. Yeah, I get it. I'm shocked by this too, man. I'm like, what?
Beer's
Beer?
heavy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if the United States Postal Service, who reaches every address in America, FedEx and UPS do not, if the USPS were able to be part of that ecosystem, then we feel it would help push FedEx and UPS into the space and create a little bit of competition. So we're hoping that goes through. That is a federal thing, and things move even slower at the federal level. So still working on that. What else do we have? We have the credit card equalization act as well, which would introduce more competition into the credit card authorization space. Currently, there's 2 different companies you can be with, or you end up in one of the networks and you're locked out of the other one. But just talking about that yesterday with one of my members, this is a big organization, and he told me that they paid over $975,000 in credit card fees last year.
Whoa.
Just their company.
It's like a
So if we
million
could
bucks.
save 15% on that, I think he would be pretty happy. So
Yeah.
that would be a big deal. And again, Arizona, we have like 7 million people. If you put that into a larger state with a lot more people, more transactions going on, it could make a big difference for all of the breweries across America. So
What
that's
is
pretty
this?
cool.
What is the problem with the processing? Is it a specifically an Arizona thing where you have a limited number of options you can go with merchant processing, or is it? I'm just kind of ignorant on
Yeah,
this topic. Help me understand.
sure. It's a federal thing. So basically, there's a monopoly of 2, and without any, it's called the Credit Card Competition Act. So it just is introducing some behind the scenes stuff that help get more processors into the market.
Hmm. More
And then, of
processors
course, the
equal
more
more
processors
competition,
are
price.
exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, that would save a ton of money. And
Mhm.
yeah, because processing sucks. And you've seen this movement towards like, well, we're going to try to pass on some of these fees to recoup some of that and help our margins, which I think is actually totally fair and fine. But like, man, there's just a ton of money that gets siphoned out for that. So
Yeah.
interesting stuff. Man, you guys are doing a
Mhm.
bunch of things to help out. I what else is going on with the guild? I guess let us know what's coming up. I mean, you guys just did the big beer fest. What can people look forward to? How can they get involved with the guild? And pay attention to more stuff you guys are doing.
I have been very fortunate that we've had several retailers that want to get involved in the guild. So we have a retail license, allied member category, and we help promote their tap rooms, and they help promote our breweries. They commit to having Arizona beer on, so it's really cool being able to be involved in that. But as far as the guild directly, we're in the middle of Beer Week right now. We have Baja Beer Fest that is going to be happening with our 3 board members in Tucson. They want to reimagine the event and have it tied more closely to the Tucson local restaurants. They are a United Nations city of gastronomy. They love talking about that, and they really want to highlight the glorious food that can be found in Tucson and do some pairings. So it's a little more complicated than what we've done in the past. It's going to take us a little more time to get it together, but that's coming up in probably in May. We
Okay.
have Real Wild and Woody Beer Fest in Flagstaff. That is in June. And it's called Real Wild and Woody because it's cask ales, it's wild beers, and it's barrel aged beers. So
Oh,
our members come up and they commit to having at least one of those on, plus some of their other beers. But yeah, so that's a fun one. We also do the Arizona Barrels, Bottles, and Brews in November. We have the Arizona Craft Beer Awards competition and festival. That is in October, September, and October. Yeah, always got new stuff coming up at the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. That's for
man,
sure. We do have Choose AZ Brews is our website, and that's where we list the things that we're doing.
excellent. Yeah, you guys have a good website. We will put website and your guys' social links, that kind of stuff in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, open up the expanded view, you'll see the notes in there to go find all those awesome links. I made a note about the Woody Fest.
Mhm.
And you said that's in Flagstaff. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of everyone's favorite festivals. It's our smallest event, and uh it really is like where the super nerds go. 75% of our tickets are sold in Phoenix, and they come up and they make a whole weekend of that weekend in Flagstaff. So they go to the breweries, they're hanging out. It's really, really hot in Phoenix at that point. So getting up to Flagstaff is something everyone likes to do, anyways.
Yeah, man. Flagstaff's awesome. And I made a note because my wife, she's a big barrel aged cast, that kind of stuff. I'm not so much. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll make that trip out there because Flagstaff's not too far from us here
Yeah,
in
for
Las
sure.
Vegas. So that is fantastic. Will we see you guys at CBC in any capacity? You going to
Yeah, we'll
CBC?
have members there. And I am planning my trip probably as soon as I get back from DC. It's just has kind of fallen through the cracks. I'm planning this trip and then that trip and then all the festivals. So
You
I
got a
got to
lot
get
going
that trip
on.
locked down.
You got a lot going on. And again, I appreciate you giving us some time and insights into
Oh,
what's
so
going
glad
on
to
in
be here.
Maricopa.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course, man. Well, appreciate it again. Again, the links will be in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for joining us, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.